we're told that our daughter is dying. So you have so many things going on at once. It's just,
and when you're processing that, I'm assuming that every second that something's not being done feels like a second wasted. It feels like you're not moving closer to finding an answer.
Yes.
Getting into a healthier, more sustainable place.
Definitely. So we go to Texas Children's. Only one parent can ride on the plane with her. And so he drove there. And so I get there. It was so overwhelming because Texas Children's, if you've been there, it is gigantic.
Right.
And the whole med center is all of these amazing hospitals in like a downtown area. And that's all it is hospitals. And so it is a whole world that you enter into, and it was huge. I remember feeling so tiny in this like humongous hospital.
That is a longer quote than we normally put in to start the episode, but it paints a vivid picture of the quick, life-altering change of getting a diagnosis. There's a lot inside of this two-part conversation. My name is Seth Carnell, and this is the Go Shout Love podcast. Today, we are talking with Colton and Katie, the parents to Shiloh, the sweetest little 11-month-old girl who has Cri Du Chat Syndrome, also known as 5P- syndrome. And there's a range of what this means, but it includes intellectual and physical delays. Typically, when we meet a new family, we talk about how these families begin this journey from a diagnosis. You would think that the stories would often be similar, and although there are some details that ring familiar, they are always new and surprising and include elements that we haven't heard before. Some of that is different personalities and backgrounds. Some of it is age of the couple. Colton and Katie are not that far removed from college, but the reality is no two stories are alike, and there is something we can take away from each one of them. This episode includes Colton having a stroke in his early 20s, being told things won't be normal with their child, then things are normal after tests, to ultimately getting a diagnosis for Shiloh. It includes having to pack up and move across the country in a single day for the proper care and continued testing of Shiloh. There's a lot to unpack and definitely worth listening to, and I'm not just saying that. Leading this conversation is Josh Veach, one of the co-directors of Go Shout Love. You will hear Shiloh in the background as well as her awesome dog that I might have been playing with occasionally during the interview. Couldn't help it. I'm a sucker for the playful golden retriever. This is part one of two conversations with Colton and Katie. There's a lot to cover and a lot of good that came out of our talk with them. And here is Josh to get things going.
Colton and Katie, welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. It's great to have you guys, and thanks for opening your home to us.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us be on here.
Yeah, and for sharing your daughter with us and the world. Yeah. We're excited to learn more about her and your story together. So let's lead with the star of the show and talk about Shiloh. And so tell us about her and describe her personality for us, and either one of you can jump in on that.
Katie, you can go first if you like.
Well, Shiloh is just the sweetest girl. She has the most content and loving personality. She's just content to sit with you, smile at you. You tickle her, and then she's in seventh heaven. She is just, honestly, pure joy. That's all I can say.
Yeah, she's definitely the cutest baby I've ever seen. But I might be a little biased.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But she's just a joy to be around. Everybody we kind of bring her around just loves her. She's super easygoing. She never really causes a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of drama, but like, I don't know. She's just she's really easygoing. She likes to be on her own. She's pretty independent. We just kind of lay her down sometimes, and we want to pick her up, but then she'll just start fussing and crying and want to be put back down with all her toys. So
that's awesome.
It's kind of funny that way. But At least I think so.
Who did she get her independence from?
Probably her mother, but
Yeah,
I
I would
mean,
say probably for me.
yeah, but I mean, I have my own too, in
Sure.
my own ways, of course.
Yeah. Tell us about life before Shiloh. So you guys, where you're from, how you kind of met, and then where you are now.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
So I'm from Pensacola, Florida, which is kind of in the panhandle of Florida. Colton is from San Diego, and we met in the middle at Baylor in Waco, Texas. We miss it so much. But we just met as freshmen there in college, and then we got married our junior year of college, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then we were married for 2 years, and then got pregnant with Shiloh. And
still in Waco at this time?
still in Waco. So we were still there.
Still finishing up school and everything.
He had an extra set of classes.
Just in the summer I had to take like an extra 2 classes.
And that's why we were there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I was already done at that point.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
And what was your background? What did you go to school for?
I went to school for journalism, and I loved it. I love investigative journalism. I love researching things and figuring things out. I don't know. It was so fun. And then my minor was film and digital media, so I did a lot of stuff on that and made a little short film, and that was super fun. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. So do you get caught up in like the Netflix documentaries?
Oh my
definitely.
gosh.
She watches them pretty much 24/7.
I always start my sentences with, I just watched this documentary, and people make fun of me for it all the time.
You can ask my family, like my parents. They're
It's
always
kind
like,
of
"Oh,
an
really?"
inside joke now, because I've seen
so many.
so many of them. It's kind of
Which
sad.
means I have to, of course.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I know.
I'm very much in the same boat, and I will start the same. My conversations or what I say starts with either I just saw on this Netflix documentary or I just heard on NPR.
Yeah.
Yes.
And both of the times I say those, I just lose my wife completely. She's like, nope, not in it. So
Exactly.
Good for
No,
you
yeah,
for
I
still watching them
definitely
with-
enjoy.
yeah,
I enjoy
so-
them enough, you know.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got us completely off track.
Oh, it's
but-
Hey, we're talking about documentaries.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
That's what podcasts are, aren't
yeah,
they?
that's right. That's right. So you found out you're 2 years into your marriage, you're fresh out of college or finishing up college.
Yeah.
And then you find out that Shiloh's on the way and you're
Yep.
navigating through that. And you've talked about that, you had some bumps in the road during your pregnancy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so everything was fine at the beginning. I had horrible morning sickness. I would literally, this is kind of TMI, but I would throw up from morning until night. But still,
Except on the weekends, which was nice.
I know, that's so weird. I don't know why that
Yeah.
happened. So I had that, and then, but everything else was normal. Just morning sickness, normal stuff. And then I took a second trimester quad screen, which tests for 4 different, more common defects. And I was super naive, and I took it just so that we could find out the gender. Little did I know you can't even find out the gender from that test. It's just a genetic screen.
Yeah.
But I had full reassurance that everything would come back completely normally. Wasn't even thinking about it, to be quite honest. I forgot about it. And then I get a call from my OB, and she's like, you have a super high chance of having a baby with Down syndrome. And so my risk was 1 in 6. And I think anything, I could be wrong on this, but I think anything 1 in 100 or more is considered high risk. So I was 1 in 6, which was extremely
There's a
high.
really
high.
likelihood, yeah.
And they factor in your age into it. And given my young age, that was like, oh,
Yeah,
there's something's going on here. And so she referred us to a maternal fetal specialist. And then we did more in-depth ultrasound, and they found 4 soft markers for Down syndrome. And she had multiple of those 4, so it wasn't just one chorioid plexus cyst, she had 2, stuff like that. So, and then the one that they were most concerned about was her single umbilical artery. And so that means instead of having 2 arteries in her umbilical cord, she had 1. So we had to just monitor her
both
growth.
of those are common markers for a diagnosis of Down syndrome.
Yes, but they can also be other chromosomal issues. But they were looking at the more common diagnoses. And she also had severe intrauterine growth restriction. So for the entire pregnancy, she was in the second percentile
of growth.
And so they were like, that's a little concerning. There might be something more going on here. And so we opted to take the panorama blood test, which tests for most genetic diagnoses nowadays. We took that test, and I remember that waiting period being just so grueling. Just the fear of the unknown, like what's going to happen? I have no idea. And then we get a call back. I remember I was literally, I was crying, but I was just like waiting for that call. And the OB is like, it's a miracle.
Everything's
Your
normal.
results are completely normal.
Yeah.
I talked to the maternal fetal specialist today, and we were both just like cheering and completely shocked. You'll probably just have a baby that's small, so we'll keep monitoring her for her growth. But everything is normal. So for the rest of that time, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just having a small baby.
Yeah, we heard that a lot too. Everyone was just kind of like, oh, maybe you just have small babies, you know? You never know.
I was 10 pounds at birth, though.
So we're like, we feel like something might be off, but I don't know. All the tests, came back normal, so we didn't see anything or assume anything at least.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Colton, how was that as a fairly new husband? I mean, you're a couple years into marriage. What was it like to see Katie go through this really, the sickness and then the stressful, you have all these different factors and things that are going on. And I think what's hard is coming to terms with, you can't control or change any of it.
Definitely.
So what was that like as a husband?
It was definitely difficult to kind of just watch Katie go through everything because, she's obviously feeling all these emotions a lot more than I am. But I think I just kind of had to kind of put on my brave face, I guess, as people say, and kind of stand next to her, just giving her all the support I could. And I'm not sure if it was just me kind of trying to hide emotion or if I was actually being able to like kind of be strong through the whole thing. But I feel like I was just kind of going along the path of just like, okay, everything's going to be okay. Like constantly telling her that, I mean,
sure.
And, enough that probably that I could believe it too.
Right.
But
he's also way more relaxed at really horrible situations than I am.
Definitely.
He had a stroke 2 years ago, and the whole time he was just
Almost
like, oh, whatever.
Now. Yeah.
And I was freaking out. So his reactions to things are
I'm definitely a lot more chill, relaxed about extreme things.
Way too laid back.
Yeah.
But
so you had a stroke 2 years ago.
It'll be 3 years in May.
Yeah, that's right.
It was, that was a whole different story. If you want to go into it, I can.
Well, I mean, it's so the timing. I'm trying to in my mind figure out what the timing is. So this was right before, like about a year before you find out that Shiloh's on the way. Is that about right? A year and a half.
I mean, year and a half because we found out in December of 2018.
But newly married then, right?
Yeah, about. Would that have even been a year yet? No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Because it was
I'm so bad
that happened.
Well, you've had a lot of life happen. Since then, so
because that happened right after finals of our junior year. So as we were going into the summer,
and we were supposed to go on a mission trip to Guatemala. Actually, ironically, to a place for people with Down syndrome in Guatemala.
Wow.
And we were getting ready to go. And literally the night before,
I think it was
2
was
nights before?
2 or 3 days before we were leaving.
Yeah,
it happened.
He had a stroke just randomly.
Yeah, and they took us in, and the doctors were just like, "Oh, it's just a migraine. You're young. You'll get over it. Like, it'll go away and you'll be fine to go on your trip.
And he was paralyzed on one side and couldn't see
And
out
blind.
of that side.
Yeah.
And then he had a throbbing headache on the other side.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. But then all my symptoms kind of went away within 24 to 48 hours. So that's why they were kind of like, oh, like, you're getting better. So it's probably just a migraine. But we'll do, like, we got in at night and they just said, we'll do an MRI in the morning because it's probably just a migraine. And then they did that. And then on like the third day or something, or the second day, I don't remember exactly. They came in like at 6 a.m. and said, oh no, we were wrong. It was a stroke. So we're
you were inpatient that whole time?
Yes.
Yeah.
They kept me in there. And then, they just came in. So we're going to start blood thinners and all this stuff. But
wow.
Yeah.
So did they have any sort of indication of what caused?
That's the weird thing too, is because I had open heart surgery as a baby at 8 days old because I had what's called transposition of the greater arteries, where they're just kind of backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So
and is that where the blood is actually flowing in reverse order, or is that something? I
don't know the specifics. If I don't remember, but I think the blood was getting in, but it wasn't getting back out.
Okay. If
I'm correct, but don't hold me to
you
it.
Don't remember, you were 8 days old.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So they thought that could have been an issue. So they did what they call a bubble test, where I had an IV and they put saline, like they shook it up and put the saline bubbles into an IV and did a like ultrasound of the heart to see if there was any crossing in the chambers of the heart when the saline bubbles got there. And when we did that in Waco, it came back positive. I could see the screen myself, and there was crossing in the chambers. And then we came back out to San Diego for the summer, and we did the same exact test with my cardiologist here, and it was negative. So he just said, no, I can't say what happened or anything, so you're probably fine.
Which is everybody's dream for their doctor to say, you're probably fine.
Yeah, they said, we can't give you a reason for why this happened.
You had a stroke at an uncharacteristically young age, but you're probably fine.
That's how
pretty
they all
much,
are.
yeah.
And then the neurologist, we went in and he was just like, yes, you had a stroke, and then just leaves.
Yeah, and he said you can continue to take your blood thinners for now and then eventually go on to just like baby aspirin or something like that.
It's just so funny.
Yeah.
So I guess we got into that because, Katie, you were saying that Colton's just naturally go with the flow.
He
it just doesn't.
so
definitely.
much so.
You've navigated tough unknowns, kind of unexpected medical things already.
Yes.
And so kind of bringing us back to Shiloh's situation. So you go through your pregnancy and you get to this point where you're thinking these markers are, likely a strong chance for a diagnosis of Down syndrome. You get the call after the follow-up, after the more detailed test, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And it's a breath of fresh air because you're kind of prepared for these unknowns, but you kind of tell us what happens after that.
Yeah, so after that, we just continued on, just monitoring the cord flow. That was all that we were
Still
concerned
going
about.
in every week with the maternal fetal specialist.
Yeah, we were going in every week, and then her cord flow started elevating. And so they were like, we need to get you in for a twice weekly non-stress test just to monitor her heart rate. So we started that, and we didn't even get to do it for a week and a half before I went in to just a regular OB appointment. And she took my blood pressure, the nurse did, and she looked at me and she goes, "Are you nervous?" And I was like, "Why would I be nervous?" And I didn't even know what a good blood pressure was. I was super naive. So I was looking at the numbers like,
those
what
are
are you
numbers.
talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what you're saying. And so they take us into the other room to start, just checking up on me and all that. And so she comes back in with the blood pressure machine. I'm like, what are you doing? And then takes my blood pressure 3 more times. And she's like, she has this look on her face like,
She's hoping she got it wrong the first
Yeah.
time.
Exactly. That's what
exactly.
she was hoping.
Yeah.
And then she walks out, and then her and my OB come back in, and I could see the look on my OB's face, like this kind of serious,
Something's going on.
demeanor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she got the results from my urine back, and I was spilling protein in my urine. And my blood pressure was super elevated. And so she goes, I think you have preeclampsia. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what? And I've heard of preeclampsia, but again, that wasn't even on my radar for something that I would get at all. So she's like, I'm going to need you to go to the lab and take a blood test just to, make sure, double confirm it. So we go to the lab, take the blood test, and we have to wait on the results. But I told my parents, and both my parents are doctors. And so immediately when I told them preeclampsia, they were like, we're coming out right now. And I was like, what?
Why? Yeah. We don't even know yet.
So you didn't know to take it as seriously as
we
didn't. Their response.
No, not at all. Exactly. So, I mean, I was crying and stuff just because, it was hormonal and it was like, what is going on? But I had no idea how serious it was at all. So when they said they were coming out, I'm like, I'm not delivering right now. Yeah. Like, why would you come out? So, and then my mother-in-law, came out too. So I was like, why is everyone out here? I'm probably not going to deliver, and I don't want them to get all their, get all, like, I'm going to deliver, and then nothing happens. And so then the blood test comes back, and my OB, she let us go home during that time, like when it was pending, and kind of get stuff together.
Because it was still within the same day, right?
Yeah. It was just in a couple hours. And she calls me back, and she's like, you need to get in here right now. Like this is not we're admitting you, And so, and bear in mind, during that whole time, I was completely asymptomatic. I had no indication that anything was wrong. Even though my blood pressure was super high, I wasn't getting
You were having a hard time. They're telling you something's wrong.
And I'm like, what?
It's like the reverse of what's normal.
Exactly.
Normally, you're trying to convince the doctor something's wrong, this isn't right.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I get admitted. And at this time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be in here for a little bit, and then they're going to let me back out. Like, I'm probably not going to deliver, And so we get in there, and she's like, okay, we're going to try to prolong this as long as we can. They put me on magnesium sulfate, which makes you feel like you're kind of burning alive.
Yeah.
They put this huge fan in front of me so that I would cool down. And then they gave me a bunch of different things. I honestly don't know what all I got during that time. But I lasted 2.5 days before they had to do an emergency C-section. Because at that point, Shiloh's cord flow was absent, so she wasn't getting anything at all. She was showing signs of distress, like her heart was decelling. And I looked like a Macy's Day Parade balloon. I looked absolutely nothing like myself. I was so swollen that if I look back on pictures, like, I can't even recognize myself at all. My entire body. And my platelets were super low. And the anesthesiologist told me that I would need to go under general anesthesia because they were so low that it's too risky to do, have you be awake, do
the epidural.
local anesthesia.
Yeah.
And but I begged them. I said, can you please let me be awake? I don't care what the risks are. That might have been dumb. But so
I want to pause you right there.
Yes.
Where are the voice of your parents in that conversation? Because in a normal situation, when your parents aren't medical professionals, they don't, they're trusting the doctors. But in this case, I wonder if they had a different voice, if they were saying, no, you really need to listen to what they're saying, or did they just kind of let you navigate that on your own?
I would say a little bit of both because they talked to the anesthesiologist at length. He came in, the main anesthesiologist, and they kind of discussed like what the risks are, what, all of that stuff. And he basically said, like, you are right on the threshold of something going wrong if we do this, but
like she was slightly above the threshold, so technically she could get the epidural,
right,
but
it was beyond the risk of what the anesthesiologist was comfortable doing.
Yes, but I smooth talked my way into it, I would like to say.
Okay.
And another God thing here is that my mom, you know, she's in her 60s and she's on all of these like
Facebook
mom groups. And so she has one particularly called Christian Physician Moms, like very detailed. I'm like, how do you find these things?
Yeah.
She found the lady that was going to be doing my anesthesia in Waco, Texas. They don't live in Waco. They live in Pensacola, Florida. Who was there for the emergency C-section.
Wow. Yeah.
Messaged her on Facebook. They met up before and again went over all the stuff.
Everything.
So that was bizarre. And yeah, so then they took me in and had the C-section, and that was extremely traumatic. But that was the end of that.
At Go Shout Love, we do amazing things for amazing families with kids on rare medical journeys. Each month, we shout love for families through the sale of creative apparel inspired by the kiddos. This month's We Are What We Roar design is inspired by Shiloh from San Diego, California. Shiloh is a strong, resilient, and joyful girl who teaches us the power of perseverance. Visit our website at goshout.love to support Shiloh through the purchase of a t-shirt, tumbler, hat, or other items. Every item sold in June will be used to purchase much needed therapy equipment for Shiloh. If you would like to shout love every month, you can always start a subscription. If you do start one, you will receive a free Go Shout Love campfire mug while supplies last. No coupon code necessary. Just subscribe and it will be in your cart at checkout.
Shiloh's here, and your mom and dad, you've gone through this really difficult pregnancy and unexpected delivery, or you know, the emergency C-section. But now you're parents, and is there joy in that moment? Are you able to take a deep breath and realize that this moment you've been looking forward to is finally here, or what's that like?
Yeah, for me at least, because, you know, I was able to be in the room for the C-section, and it was like right away, it was incredible. Obviously, I cried and everything, and she was extremely small. You know, she was 3 pounds flat at birth, but she was just really cute, and it was pretty surreal and everything, but I kind of understood what was going to be like happening at the process. They kind of had talked to us beforehand because, you know, we knew she would be going straight up to the NICU after delivery and everything. So I kind of, since Katie, you know, was under the surgery, I was able to go with the doctors up to the NICU right away with Shiloh, leaving Katie downstairs, seeing kind of how everything was going to go. So it was definitely a wild ride, but it was, I would say, mostly filled with joy. Yeah.
So they kind of prepped you that, hey, once Shiloh's out, it's not going to be, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to go through extra tests. You're going to have to go. So
definitely.
Give us just a quick rundown of what the next months looked like as far as figuring out what was going on in her body and landing on a diagnosis.
Yes. Well, and going off that point too, I didn't get to see her until 3 days after. So they brought her up to me, and then I kissed her on the forehead, and then they gave me Versed, and I was like really out of it. And so from that point, like I didn't even touch her or anything at all until 3 days later. Because I got a fever, and then my blood pressure actually got worse after I delivered. So, and I'm still on
the magnesium.
Well, I had to go back on magnesium, and I'm still on blood pressure medication because it's still.
So you're still like they're medically concerned about you. They're trying to take care of you as well. Yeah.
So I didn't get to go up and see her or anything till after 3 days, which was so hard. But yeah, so after that point, we were thinking, oh, she's just small. But we're just going to have like your typical NICU stay. They said, look for the due date. So we were like, okay. And we were thinking, oh, she'll get out before then, you know, because she's doesn't have any other, at the time we didn't think she had any other issues at all. Yeah. And so we were like, okay, we can do this.
Good.
Normal
just
NICU
need her to
stay.
develop typical preemie things of getting their lungs developed. And so.
Exactly. But there were a few things right when she was born that kind of clued the doctors into something is going on, because she was not breathing at all how she should have at 31 weeks when I delivered. And I got 2 rounds of betamethasone. And then she got the full dosage that you can give for surfactant. So her lungs should have been working way better, way better than they were. And she actually looked dead when I delivered her, because she was not taking normal breaths at all. They had to bag her and then, get her on oxygen like right away. And anyway, so that kind of clued them into, hey, something is up here. And honestly, that all passed me by at the time. I had no idea what that meant. And then after, I don't know the time period, after a couple days, she was put on an oscillator that breathed for her. And I didn't know that was a super high level of care at all. I thought,
this
all
is just
NICU
part
babies
of NICU.
do it.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't even know at the time what good SATs were. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at the screen.
Is saturation levels, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't know that. Except our little one spent just a few days in the NICU. And I'm like you. Like, if you never had to experience that or been with somebody that's gone through that, you have no idea, if is 89 good? Is 94 good?
You have no clue. Yeah, I was looking at the screen like, I have no clue what
so many numbers on there.
Right. Numbers and beeping.
Yeah.
That's what
exactly.
you can guarantee you're going to experience.
Lots of beeping. But, so I had no idea that was a high level of care at all. I was like, all NICU babies are intubated. Had no clue. And so from that point, they put her on minimal stimulation. We could barely touch her at all. She had a PICC line in, all sorts of things going on. I mean, I look back at the pictures like, oh my gosh, wow. And I was still thinking, because we weren't given any sort of diagnosis. They weren't, like, they did like the normal newborn screen, I think, but they weren't actively pursuing more genetic testing. And so they were, I don't know, we just thought, okay, preemie things.
The only thing that kind of came up was her blood sugar levels, because they had been checking those pretty regularly after, I'm not sure how long, but doing little heel pricks with the blood and everything. So
every 3 hours.
Yeah, they had been checking that pretty regularly. That's really the biggest indicator we had at the beginning.
But even normal preemies can have hypoglycemia too. She just had a lot of like really low blood sugar drops, so she was on IV glucose too, all of that stuff.
So you're not really given any information or expectations. So you're just naturally assuming this is just protocol for every baby that's here. You don't really know.
That's what they were kind of saying too, is since they didn't have any ideas yet, they were kind of like, this is something that she can grow out of, and it might just take a little bit. But
so then after about 3 weeks there, she started showing very weird symptoms. Her liver panels were coming back really abnormal. Her direct bilirubin and all that was abnormal. And so she was also having white poop. So, and that's definitely not normal. I didn't know what that meant at all. And so they came up to us, the neonatologist and then her team. And it's never good, like, when a whole team approaches you, you know something's going on.
They've gotten together without you.
Yes,
they
exactly.
talked about it.
Yeah.
And so they said, we think Shiloh has one of 3 diagnoses. We think she either has cystic fibrosis, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, or biliary atresia. And they say, we really think she has biliary atresia. That was the one that they were almost certain she had. And so, of course, we Googled it and we're like, oh my gosh.
This doesn't look good.
No, it did not look good at all. because with biliary atresia, you have to get the Kasai procedure at a very, very early age. And then after that, you're likely to get a liver transplant soon thereafter. And so, and they could pass away just from waiting on a liver. So it was a huge blow and out of nowhere. So that was absolutely hideous to go through, but it did open my eyes to a lot of different things that I never thought about before, like organ donation, because we're thinking, okay, our daughter's going to need a liver. What do we need to do? And so they said, okay, we're going to fly you guys out to another hospital that has because they could not do any of the procedures that she would need done at the hospital we were at. It was like a small town Waco hospital. They were great doctors, but
they just had limitations.
Definitely.
Yes, they didn't even have like a pediatric surgery area. Yeah. So, and they said, because they were going to need to do a HIDA scan on her to check her liver, and they said at the other hospital in Temple, Texas, the guy there had only done it 20 years ago. Oh,
that's not what you want to hear.
So exactly, we were like, okay. So they flew us out to Texas Children's Hospital. We literally had to pack up our apartment that night, move out next day.
But thankfully we had some great friends that would help us with that. And
yes.
So they're the best. They
were absolutely a godsend. But wow, that was a crazy time. And I'm still pumping every 2 hours. We're packing up our apartment, leaving in a day. Yeah.
Well, and we didn't even know exactly when the plane would be coming because Texas Children's was sending it out to us, and we had to wait for insurance approval, and then they would send it as soon as their team was ready. So we didn't really even know when that was going to be. So we were just kind of sitting on the edge of our seats, just waiting for like any kind of sign.
Yeah, but it was very fast paced. And then, we're told that our daughter is dying. So you have so many things going on at once. It's just,
and when you're processing that, I'm assuming that every second that something's not being done feels like a second wasted. It feels like you're not moving closer to finding an answer.
Yes.
Getting into a healthier, more sustainable place.
Definitely. So we go to Texas Children's. Only one parent can ride on the plane with her. And so he drove there. And so I get there. It was so overwhelming because Texas Children's, if you've been there, it is gigantic. Right. And the whole med center is all of these amazing hospitals in like a downtown area. And that's all it is hospitals. And so it is a whole world that you enter into, and it was huge. I remember feeling so tiny in this like humongous hospital. But so we get in there, and then they told us, so she had pretty much specialists for every part of her body come and assess her, and the GI team there that specializes in biliary atresia and disorders related to it, said, we don't think she has biliary atresia. So then we're like, okay.
Good news, but then what does that mean?
But they were like, she has something else.
Now we're back to square one.
So back to the drawing board.
But you're still at Texas Children's.
We're still there.
Because we stayed there for 2.5 months after the 1 month or so at the first hospital. And so she was still having a whole lot of breathing difficulty. She would have to be positioned on her stomach with her head turned one way, otherwise she'd desat. So diaper changes were tricky. Just a whole lot of things going on. And so that's when genetics got involved. And our hospital actually in San Diego offered to do the genome sequencing test.
It's the hospital that I was in when I had my open heart surgery. Because we kept a really close relationship with that hospital since I've been going almost every year, growing up and everything.
So they offered to do genome sequencing, and there's this super rapid return. So they did that. And then meanwhile, she has a huge event, is what they call them, when, you can't get the breathing under control and all sorts of deals. So they blasted her on her oxygen and nothing was happening. She was, in really poor condition. And then she got super severe anemia, started getting symptomatic anemia as well. And so we were transferred to the level 4 NICU inside of Texas Children's. And then while we were there, she had a massive blood sugar drop and was put on more IV glucose. So it was a whole bunch of things happening at one time. We had a few moments like that of events and then sepsis workups, the whole 9 yards. But while we were in the level 4 NICU, we had gotten to know the geneticist really well off the bat. We loved him.
Yeah.
And we kind of created a bond with him beforehand. But he approached us with 2 other people. And again, like I said, when there's a team of people that come up to you, something's going on. So we were sitting there, and then he turns to us and he says, "Can we see you in the conference room?" And so, I had this huge lump in my throat as we were walking down there. And then they bring us to this conference room, and it's this gigantic table. And then it's only us 4 or 5. Yeah, 5.
5.
At the very end of this huge table.
Yeah.
And they look at us, and then, I'm like, okay, we're going to hear news that will probably change the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
I know that is a bit of a cliffhanger to leave you on. I'm sorry about that, but be at peace. The next episode will continue this conversation and will include much more about precious little Shiloh. She is easily one of those kiddos that I'm beyond grateful for getting to meet and wish everyone could meet her, as well as meet Colton and Katie, who are fantastic people and great parents to Shiloh. Please take a second to rate and review, and then even share this podcast with a friend or someone who has a child with a diagnosis, or someone who you think would be blessed by conversations like this. Remember, if you start a subscription now to Go Shout Love, you will also receive a free campfire mug while supplies last. Just start your subscription and the mug will be in your cart at checkout. As always, thanks for listening. With all that's going on in the world, it's important to cling to things that are good and full of people like you who are willing to take time to go shout love. Thank you.